and the session is now being recorded. Nothing further for me to do than to hand over. So delighted to be able to welcome Melissa, Max, and Mike, uh, dialing in from various places over in the US and Canada, in different time zones to us here in the UK, from Absorb LMS. Really keen for you to hear this session, so I'm going to step out the way and I'll hand over to you, Melissa.
Thank you, Andrew. Hello, everyone. We're very excited for you to join us. Sounds like all over the world today. Excuse me. Sounds like a lot of rainy weather, so hopefully you're sitting in a warm and dry place as you tune into our webinar today. We're going to talk about how to build the ultimate LMS content library and the 3 ways you can go about doing that. So we'll be diving into the pros and cons of buying, building, or perhaps both. For introductions, I'm Melissa Ewan, a Senior Product Marketing Manager at Absorb. My role is to bring products to the market and let our prospects and customers know about the value that it can bring to their organizations. And we also have 2 of our Absorb experts on the webinar today. First, we have Mike Avery, who is our VP of Product Enablement. He has a very unique role that sits between product marketing and our go-to-market teams. And his focus is to really help bring the add-on products to life for our customers and to be sure that we are providing the full value of our LMS to deliver for our clients. And secondly, we have Max Hum, who is our Associate Product Manager. His very important job is to guide the success of our Absorb products, lead our teams into continuously improving it, and to help define our roadmap. So with the introductions done, I will dive into the content. So according to Deloitte, companies are spending more than $130 billion on training and development worldwide. Yet they're still really struggling to provide a modern online learning experience. But at the same time, traditional employee training is being revolutionized by, as I'm sure you've heard, flipped classrooms, learning-centric models, and really an explosion of content that's being delivered over a variety of new online and even mobile platforms. As for average spend per employee, in 2017, organizations were spending an average of £681 per employee in learning and development. And in 2020, at the start of the pandemic, that number reduced a little bit down to £639 per employee. And now fast forward to 2023, the budget looks like it increased to £705, but taking inflation into account, L&D teams are actually working with a lot less than they were 7 years ago. So what does this all mean? It means that most companies have room for improvement when it comes to creating the best in-class, modern, and engaging learning experience for their learners, but they're actually working with less L&D budget. Now, of course, there are many, many aspects to training and development, but today we're going to focus on content and how it could be done most effectively for your organization to achieve the biggest impact. We'll kick things off with a poll. The question is, how many learners are you responsible for?
So we want to find out from the audience as to where people are. Hopefully you should be able to see the results. I love watching the numbers on this. Immediately you put a poll question up, all of a sudden you just get bam, 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 and all the numbers start coming through. Rachel and David have put specific numbers in the discussion point. Thank you for that, guys. If you want to add your sector in the chat, it's interesting. Any thoughts on the numbers that you're seeing there, Melissa?
Yeah, it looks like there's quite an even spread, mostly, more than 500, and then between 1,000 and 5,000. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it sounds like we have some mid to enterprise size companies.
Absolutely. Also, just that I just added that other question as well. Where's the other places where you're working? And it's really interesting as well to see the mix of people we've got. We've got people in retail, manufacturing, unions, engineering, medical software, defense. We've got a real broad range of people working in a range of things here as well. So we're talking about mixed audiences. I think if you couldn't have
Yeah,
asked
I
for a
love
more mixed audience than this for today, that's awesome. Thank you, everybody. Really do appreciate you sharing this. Thank you very much indeed. And even third sector charity, not profit, says Emma. Higher education, says Jed as well. So yeah, we got people from everywhere in the room today.
I love that. Yeah, just, LMS content is relevant for all industries and all sizes of organizations.
Awesome stuff. I'll put your slides back up. Here we go.
Great. Okay, so when we are talking about good LMS content, what are we actually referring to? We've narrowed it down to 4 key elements. So the first is it has to be interactive. Your content needs to be multidimensional and interactive for it to be truly engaging. And that's not to say that you can't have simple slides with just text and maybe an image. Of course, that can be part of your learning program, but ideally, it should also have other mediums like videos or interactive activities like quizzes or assessments to really build on that content. Secondly, your organization needs to be thinking about accessibility for all your learners. Your courses should meet the important accessibility standards to make sure that it's a truly inclusive learning environment and that everyone has the same opportunity to really engage with the content. Thirdly, we have personalization. So it's really key in learning and development content, especially now. Your courses need to be aligned to the different roles and departments and skill levels across your organization for it to really resonate with your learner. And lastly, not to anyone's surprise, accuracy is important. It also has to be relevant. So whether you're creating courses from scratch or leveraging AI to build content, it's a good rule of thumb to get other subject matter experts to validate that content before it's shared with learners to make sure that the information you're presenting is truly accurate. All right, so what are the benefits of good LMS content? So the first one is increased engagement. So according to Gallup, a global analytics and advice firm, in 2022, sadly, only 32% of both full-time and part-time employees working for organizations reported that they felt truly engaged. And in fact, 18% were actively disengaged. But on a more positive note, the firm also noted that the organizations that have more than double this percentage did this by boosting their engagement rates using their organizational culture, values, and most importantly, their L&D initiatives to really help guide those business decisions that they're making, and also equipping their teams and managers to have the tools to have meaningful conversations about their team members' learning. The second benefit is higher productivity. I think it's safe to say that everyone here and every organization in the world cares about productivity. We all want to be able to do more with less, and we all want to see results. So, according to Gallup again, companies are 17% more productive and 21% more profitable when they offer proper training to engaged employees. And having high quality and relevant training materials in your LMS ensures that your teams are properly trained for their roles, whether that's technical skills or managerial skills. That training will certainly lead to higher engagement and higher productivity. And lastly, a skilled workforce. So almost 70% of employers globally are struggling to find skilled workers. And perhaps you've experienced that in your organization as well as you're trying to fill open roles. But especially in high demand areas like operation and logistics, manufacturing and production, IT, sales and marketing, there's a shrinking pool of talent due to digital transformation and demographic changes. So employers are having an even harder time to fill these roles, which also means that perhaps it's time to look internally and invest in internal talents and upskill your your current team in order for the company to continue um, building up their skill set. And training content is more important than ever because these skill sets are rapidly changing and you want to be able to meet the demands of the business. All right, next up, we have another poll for you. And the question is, how do you currently fill your LMS content library?
I'm really sorry, but the question's not come up properly. I do apologize. Sorry, guys, the wrong question's come up. I do apologize for that. Bear me 1 second. Let me just check. Oh, sorry. The question hasn't come up properly. I do apologize, everybody. Ignore the poll. Ignore the poll. Let's just answer the question in the chat. I do apologize. Sorry. The question's not come through properly. Let's put it in the. Yeah, I noticed it's a different question. Sorry, everybody.
No
My
worries.
bad. My bad. Let's go back to the question. What's the question that we were asking? The question was, how do you fill your LMS content library? So, in the discussion, let's just put your answers in there. Please tell us, how do you currently fill your LMS content library? What are the things that you put in your content library now? Please do let us know. I can see people putting responses in there already. Okay, so we've got a mix across both responses. Here we go. So we've got Emma, build their own. John says it's a mix of external and internal. David says 40% product, 50% compliance, 10% other. Emma, mainly regulatory as well. Sheridan, a mix of build our own and external. TR says third party providers. Peter says created by our experts, very time consuming and expensive. It's a real mix of responses coming through here. Ash, operational content, paid for libraries and internally authored. I'm loving the responses, Melissa. Do you know what? I think we should have asked a question instead of a poll. I'm loving the feedback we're getting from people here. What are your thoughts?
I think it's awesome that, it really varies. It sounds like a lot of people are doing both, which, spoiler alert, is our recommendation. So great, you're ahead of the game.
It's interesting. I think it's interesting looking at the mix between. I mean, Jed's just said local content 90%, licensed materials 10%. Everybody seems to be doing a mix in some form, but it's what mix across. Is it mostly authored? Is it mostly internal? It's just that mix between the two, I think, is interesting as to what sits on an LMS.
For sure.
Loving the responses, everybody. I'm going to close that that window down where it says the poll 2 discussion. If you want to carry on telling us and sharing us, if you want to put some percentages in, put them in the general chat. It'd be interesting to know what your thoughts are, the general percentages and around some of these as well. I'm going to close that. I can see Eric's typing very quickly. Experimenting with learning paths created by ChatGPT and edX. I think a few people are, Eric. Let me put it back to your slides again for you. There you go, Melissa.
Perfect. All right. So I think it's time to hear from our Absorb experts. Mike will be talking about the advantages of ready-made content and what types of organizations would be most suitable for this option. And then on the other hand, Max will be talking about when to create content and how it can be done most effectively, leveraging the power of AI. So with that, let's start with our first question, and I'll direct this one for Mike. When should an organization build their own content versus buying it?
Great question, and love the chat responses and the polls responses. I think this audience on the call resembles the audience that we service and try to service at Absorb. The theme for today is exactly what I think we saw in the chat, is that Absorb believes that, there should be a combination of both or all of the above, obviously from the theme. And we think organizations should take some time to think about what their content needs are. And if the content is so proprietary that you can't find it, ready-made off the shelf, clearly building your own is a great option. we're going to address that. But when you make that decision of building your own, I think one of the chat responses was it's very, very time consuming, and we see that. So we want to encourage our customers in the industry to really think about utilizing ready-made content when the topics are more broad and already covered by industry experts. They've put in the time, the attention to make it compelling and engaging, and also they keep it updated and relevant. And as part of the LMS experience, those updates and changes, either whether it be compliance or regulation or just changing trends, we auto import those into our library so they're accessible to our customers. We think getting the balance right is really going to help our customers and companies in the industry to focus their time and attention and their expenses into the most efficient delivery method. The equation isn't always simple because costs are hard to measure. So sometimes if there's not an allocated budget, a hard cost expense budget available, then maybe 50 pounds per learner per year seems like it's out of the question or expensive. But oftentimes there's soft costs involved, and we like to encourage customers to think about the total delivered cost for learning and getting the balance right between buying or building their own.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mike. All right. The second question is, how can organizations solve for the content needs of different generations?
Another great question. We think it's super important to realize that not all learners actually learn the same way. My fun example is if you were to ask my kids what they think about me helping them with their math homework, we always arrive at the same answer, but we take different approaches. And the reason for that is just we were taught differently, and each individual learns differently. We think the teaching and content delivery today, it's obviously different than when I was in elementary school. And I think it's for the better. We've evolved. We have different techniques. And my kids, as an example, are doing things faster and better and differently than I ever did in terms of approaching how to solve problems and how they ingest data. So it's a pretty fun example in my house. Because there's so many factors that go into learning and how different people and generations learn, we really think that you have to bring a diverse library and different delivery styles to the table so that you can provide your audience with something that's right for them. And we think a feedback loop is super important to see what courses and topics are covered well and where courses might need improvement. That diversity in delivery, types, content styles, course lengths, seat times. I think there was an answer in the chat that just finding enough time for your learners to learn is a challenge. So, really long duration courses might not work in your setting. So looking for more micro-learning approaches and topics and courses can be more applicable and keep the audience engaged for longer. We also think that having knowledge checks involved in the training topics or in the courses are really important, because then you're going to actually get a quantifiable result and help to shape what courses you're going to make available. Our library addresses the needs of really a range of different styles and different goals and learning goals. We have over 30,000 courses. There's built-in redundancy to those courses in our library so that we can cover a topic in maybe a short seat time, medium seat time, or long seat time course, different delivery styles, different graphics. And we think that that's probably the best way to approach different generations and really a diverse audience that you're trying to engage with.
Fantastic. I can't help but think that maybe TikTok and YouTube are to thank for the micro-learning preference for Gen Zs and millennials, but I could be wrong. All right.
No, there's something to be said about that. And I think those short, really engaging, where you get that quick hit or that answer right away. I think that we're being trained for that immediacy. So I think you make a really good point.
Mhm. Okay, so the next question is, so what is Absorb doing today to solve for content buying needs?
Yeah, we've focused a lot on this. Absorb's been in business a long time. We've engaged with many customers, and we always look for feedback. And one of the things that we really hit on, and I addressed it earlier, is just helping our customers navigate through the process, whether they're building their own or buying on the outside. And I kind of take an economic look at this question. So by understanding the hard costs and the soft costs that I addressed earlier and the selection of content, what we've done is we've gone into the marketplace, essentially as our customer to put together library and content options for our customers so that it's simple. And I think we talked about this earlier, that it's integrated into the LMS, that it's easy to manage and more efficient to implement and roll out so that we can address those costs and time equation that we addressed earlier. So we really have an advantage that most of our customers don't. I saw in the poll that I think it was 80% of the audience on the call today are addressing learners from 0 to 5,000. It was split. I think it was about 28, 30% and 30%. And then the balance 20 were learner needs and audiences over that amount. So what we did is we took advantage of our buying power and went into the marketplace and assembled a library so that our customers didn't have to do that. And then by buying and manage that on behalf of our customers, we're able to integrate it into our LMS on behalf of our customers and make that available to them. So that's the biggest thing that we're doing today to address the buying needs, is lowering the total cost of content because we can actually buy it in bulk and then offer it to our customers, and then managing it, integrating it into the LMS under one subscription versus having to have our customers. And I saw that there were a couple answers in the chat that they were managing the buy on themselves, and it was bespoke. They were trying to get compliance content from one place, maybe upskilling and professional development from another place. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see that our portfolio actually has a large, medium, and small aspect to it so that we can meet the customers where they are. So if there's strictly a compliance training requirement and maybe some of the upskilling and professional development aren't part of the budget scenario or the sphere of influence that our key audience member has or our buyer has, then we can bring forward those compliance topics. In our large library, we cover everything and we bring a one-stop solution to our customers. We think it's certainly challenging for our L&D teams to go into the marketplace and assemble these topics. So we've done it for them, and then we offer a variety of topics for our customers. In terms of building the libraries, we really started with the necessary compliance suite of courses. Simply the data security, GDPR, preventing discrimination and harassment, and we use that as kind of the building blocks. And then we probed our customers what they needed on top of that, and then what style of learning was important to them so that we were able to build in diversity into the library. And then last but not least, I think there was a chat comment earlier about the skills and learning path creation. So we'll be announcing as a company in the upcoming weeks and months how we're addressing the skills assessment and providing custom learning paths to our customers. And it acts in two ways. The first and most important way, it really finds out where the learner is. And then the second way, it really gives them a learning path and a pre-curated content approach so that the L&D admin doesn't have to guess their actual role in the organization, and the skills they're trying to develop are going to deliver a curated learning path for the individual. And I think Melissa made that comment earlier that it needs to be personalized. Last point on the topic is just building a well-curated library. What I talked about in the learning path and the skills journey, that's kind of what we call the gold standard. In some cases, our L&D customers aren't able to do that. So we're able to help coach them through really kind of 3 tiers. One is that compliance tier that I spoke of earlier, where we say, any company with 50 learners or more are going to have to cover these topics. And again, this is data security, compliance, code of conduct. And then we can really springboard off of that and get into employee development. And then last but not least, this concept of management and leadership that can be within a small team of 5 to 10 people to all the way through our executive level team members that are always trying to grow and upskill. And then finally, we as a company sit next to our customers, and we really use these general topics to help our customers think about the creation of their library and what they're going to make available to their learners. And while this one slide seems simple, it really can span. And when we think about different groups of learners, those teams of 1 to 5, all the way through executive leaderships. And if you go through the wheel and hit on each of these topics and start curating a course library that meets all of these needs, you'd be really surprised at how easy it is to build a really enriched library, but then you can roll it out and customize it to each of your learning groups and what's most important to them.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. All right, so I think it's time to switch gears a little bit and talk about creating custom content. So this next question is for Max. What are some best practices for building your own content?
Thanks, Melissa. Yeah, it's a really important question when you think about that holistic product suite. And as Mike was saying, understanding that there are so many different types of people. We saw in the poll and in the chat that the diversity of people looking to create content is very, very large. So understanding your audience as a diverse organization in all sorts of different industries with all sorts of different learners at different stages is something that you'll want to consider in your course creation journey, in your course and content curation journey. So that's definitely the first thing. The second thing is understanding what you want your learners to get out of the courses. So I'd call that setting clear learning objectives. I think we're all pretty familiar with taking a lot of e-learning courses, but sometimes we don't always know why we're taking them or what we hope to learn from them, how we hope to be different after we've taken the course from before we've taken the course. As someone curating your content for your learners, you'll definitely want to make sure that this is clear to them so that they can understand what they're supposed to be getting from their content. Third is about keeping them engaged. Your learners are different, and having a variety of different types of multimedia, text, images, videos, animations, interactions, quizzes, all of these different things help different types of learners really learn the content and be able to retain it for when they're actually using their content to be more productive or to contribute more to the outcomes of your business. And promoting interactivity is something that's so important when we think about the learning for ourselves. Um, Doing always makes me remember exactly what I've learned. Sometimes you can learn the fastest when you just read a bunch of books about it, but you probably won't be able to retain it as well as if you were to actually do the action. Something that comes to mind is often um, when I think about reading recipes versus actually cooking the dish. Um, Being able to step outside sometimes and actually go and take advantage of the learning that you're doing in a hands-on manner can help you to learn and retain that content even better. And finally, we've got a point about accessibility. Understanding your learners and where they come from in terms of what preferences they have, what abilities they have to consume your content, including visual impairments and clear formatting, alternative text, captions for videos. All of these things are important to have to understand your widest possible audience and to make sure that every one of your learners is able to consume the content in the way that they need to consume it. Keeping things short and making sure that we improve and we strive to improve the content over time is something that we're all about in our agile company, and is something that content demands. When your learners iterate and improve, and when we see the pace of change pick up to such speeds, your content and your learning materials also needs to change and update, so that your learners can be kept up to date and ready for whatever comes at them.
Fantastic. All right. And our next question for Max is, how has generative AI changed the LMS content landscape?
This is probably the question of the last year and a half. Generative AI seems to be one of the most transformative technologies in recent years, particularly with the advanced models that we've seen about a year and a half ago. I guess with ChatGPT being the the product on the scene, and it's significantly transformed the LMS content landscape as well as learning in general, and so many other industries as well. I'm sure many of you have used this product that is based off of the GPT 3.5 large language model, which we also use here at Absorb. Um, the first thing is automated content creation. Um, Content creation, when we spoke to people who use our content authoring service, is something that is very time intensive. It takes a lot of people in an organization, and depending on your content creation process, can take a lot of time as well. So when we thought about incorporating generative AI into an Absorb product, we really wanted to think about addressing the problems that our customers were facing. And so giving our content creators, sometimes one-person teams, sometimes much larger, a head start with their ability to do some preliminary research, to get a layout and an outline for a course going, was something that was very important to our early beta clients, and what we've heard since then. In the future, we look forward to other things that are made possible with automated content creation, like hyper personalization and um, creating quizzes and assessments and explanations and summaries, and all of these things that will make learning more sticky. Personalization is something that we all wish everything could be super personalized. But in the past, um, certainly with content, as intensive as it is to create, content creators for internal industries as well as for um, external industries, um, content providers that would sell their content to many, many different organizations had to address a lot of different types of audiences. We just saw the diversity in this group, and the content available and that will address those needs um, can sometimes overlap a lot. And that's really beneficial when you're looking to get content up and running for your organization quickly. That's the buy content. But sometimes the content that you need to provide and the training that you need to provide to your learners needs to be deeply personalized. Sometimes it's just for internal training, and the specific knowledge that you need to provide your learners just isn't out there. And generative AI can help in some ways because the large language models are trained on um, the broad set of data available. These are like billions and trillions of parameters of open internet data. And the most amazing thing is the model size and the ability to translate that content today is the worst it'll ever be. In the future, the size of the models and our ability to translate that into useful content will only get better. And so in the early days of personalization, um, it really serves as a keystone, as a marker that we're very, very excited to continue building upon. Some other things that generative AI has changed is content augmentation, just being able to expand on things that we write and that our knowledge is present in certain courses, and language translation, a service that I guess is used to be very, very time intensive, but now and in the near future, creating custom courses for a global audience that speaks any number of languages will be much easier.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Yeah. So I'm sure everyone's excited to see the, I guess, generative AI at work. This slide introduces that. So leveraging generative AI in course development is something that we built into Create AI, the latest release of Create, which is Absorb's course authoring product. You'll be able to streamline your course development process by generating a course outline and some slides that contain text sourced from the large language model and images also that are not AI generated, but sourced from our image partner. So there are 3 easy ways to start creating courses using the Create AI beta today. You'll be able to enter a short description. You can copy and paste longer form content, and you can also upload existing PDFs meant to help to capture a lot of the training that exists with many of our clients already in PDF documents. But today, for our live demo, we'll actually be entering a short description. So if you have any topics or any big problems that you're thinking of, please put them in the chat that you think would be interesting to see in a course as we get that loaded up.
You have you have an amazing opportunity, everybody who's here today. So let me put it onto the screen share. There we go, Max. So if you want to load up the system, so you have an opportunity here for Absorb just to go. All right, let's have a look. This is the topic we want to know about. This is the course we would like to created. Yeah, all right, Peter. I think that might. I don't know. I don't know if that's. I don't know, having the content on that one. That's a really interesting one, Max. Climate change effects on shipwrecks.
Climate change effects on shipwreck.
That's very niche. That's a very niche one. Eric, helping job seekers to use LinkedIn. Yeah, I'd love to do that one, Peter. I think it might be very niche. Yeah, yeah, throw a niche one in, throw a specialist one in. Why not? What are the topics that you would like to see? I'd be really interested. So, what would you like to see on the platform? This is live now. This is you are live on the platform, aren't you, Max?
Yes.
There you go. You see his mouse moving about. He is actually live in the platform. So, what would you like to see the Create AI tool on the Absorb platform actually produce? So, let's have a look. We've got a few people typing. We'll just give people a moment or two just to put those in. That's a nice one, John. I like that. Giving and receiving feedback. Psychological safety, says the other John. So H. John says giving, receiving feedback. The other John, content, psychological safety. Jade, making eco-conscious choices in the workplace. So sustainability. Becoming a manager, says Edwin. We have a few options. Conflict between managers. Wow. Go on, Max. I'll leave
All
you to
right.
choose.
You know, I think we're gonna try the Peter's recommendation just to see how niche this content is. I haven't done this live, so you'll have to bear with me. I've never typed this topic in before.
Good luck is all I can say to you now, Max. Good luck.
Right.
I think this will be a good starting point for a documentary, Netflix documentary.
If
It
you
could
want to
be.
see the text bigger, everybody, just so you know, you can go to the full screen button, and if you choose the full screen, that will go full screen on your screen, and you'll be able to see the text and everything that's going on. Okay, Max, over to you.
Right on. So thank you for the suggestion, Peter. So as we see here, the first step with creating content using Create AI is to enter that prompt, and then you'll be taken to this window, which has actually already used AI to go and generate these course outline steps. So right here, we have the title provided by the prompt. We have a bit of basic course outline infrastructure here with an introduction that will just introduce learners to the topic, some historical importance, understanding climate change. So it recognizes that there are 2 topics here, and it's introducing both of them, the rising sea levels and coastal erosion, ocean acidification, extreme weather events, all elements of climate change. And we can see that the rest of the topics in each slide are also created here. If you have the need to go and switch around the um, order of some slides, you can do that right away, or you can do that later on. This is certainly the fastest way to do it, but any way you'd like to. If you'd like to add a specific topic, that's also super easy to do. Um, perhaps we can go and add a topic about AI and predicting. And maybe I want to put that just before the conclusion. I'm also able to go and use AI to go and create other slides here, or to go into more and less detail for the titles here. We're not going to do that right now in the essence of time. We'll just go and create the content. And as this is loading, um, you'll be able to think about what other elements that you'd like to see for Create. This is something that we can do very quickly in many sorts of demos, and the course is already loaded here. So this is the basic template that you'll see when creating courses in the AI course mode. So you'll see all of your slides on the left-hand side here. These are the same slides. You'll see the AI and predicting climate change slide that I added in there. An image is automatically generated, excuse me, not generated, pulled in from our image partner. And so these are images that have been photographed by photographers around the world, and they're credited here in the lower right-hand corner. If you'd like to change this image, you can type in something that is relevant, and you can go and select that image, and it'll change just like that. You're also able to change from these three themes that we've included in our beta product here. So you'll be able to just switch very quickly into each theme, and each slide is already into each theme. So as we go and we look at the introduction here, we see that the learners can join us as we delve into the historical significance of shipwrecks and understanding that impact on climate change for coastal areas. So all of this text are things that the large language model was able to pull in very quickly. And they're also things that help you if you're a climate change or shipwreck expert to, I guess, set the stage to get you started. It might not be exactly what you want your learners to take, but if you think about how much time would go into researching this content and putting this here right from the get-go, I think you'll find that you'll save quite a bit of time creating your courses. So you'll see each of these slides has a different template. Many of them have this, I guess, simpler image and text on one side. And this was just to make sure that we could express this as quickly as possible to get this in the hands of our users to save time. Let's see what it said about AI. We've got a little Honda robot there. And AI has the potential to greatly enhance our understanding and prediction of climate change by analyzing large amounts of data from various sources. We're going to try to use more bullet points. And it changed around the slide to help explain the data in a more consumable format. And from this mode, you can certainly go and create your course and create as a fully functioned authoring tool. We'll be able to add quizzes or branching or to collaborate with other content creators or send it to reviewers. All of those functions are available certainly in the full suite of Create tools. If you'd like to go and see any of those slides again or just jump ahead to them, you can go and open the hamburger menu and go and click on any of those slides. If you'd like to add slides that you write yourself, you can certainly go and add any of those slides for either a blank slide or a quiz slide, a branching slide. You might have a video that you want to include. All of those things are available, but we just really wanted to show off Create AI as our newest Create release right here. And you'll be able to publish the course right to your LMS for your learners to take once you're satisfied with the course that you've created. I'll stop sharing now and hand it back to Melissa.
Thank you, Max. Hope you were all excited to see what our generative AI tool can do. I'm certainly very impressed by the finished product and the customization that can, still be done even when it's generated, from scratch, essentially. Okay. We have a final poll for you, and that is your organization leveraging AI for content generation?
Go. Let me reopen that poll. There we go. So, is your organization leveraging AI for content generation? It's a yes and a no, and there's also a don't know in there as well. So, something, yeah, there might be people that you don't know about, or it's interesting to see what the responses are. We're getting a few responses from people interested in the comments in there as well. Please do tell us, what are you using it for? If you are using it, what are you using it for? If you're not using it, why not? I think is also an interesting question as well. What are the results telling you, Melissa?
It looks like the majority of us are currently using it for content generation. And then around 30% say no.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what people are using it for. So there's two immediately saying about voiceover generation. John saying it needs a culture shift because you can't get it leveraged in the company. Matthew uses Copilot to rewrite content from an SME. Erica saying it's security issues, and so there's security problems around it. Getting ideas from Dav about ChatGPT. Dav and I, we met a little while ago actually, and I showed Dav how to do some stuff. We did some stuff and on ChatGPT for some bits and pieces. Research says John. Using it for polishing the content says Lisa. Internal AI, but not using it for content yet, says Jade. Really interesting responses. Really interesting responses. Cool. I'm going to close that poll down. Yeah, so pretty much, yeah, not yet and no. There's a definite split between the two. Not yet sounds hopeful, whereas no doesn't, doesn't it? I'll put us back onto your slide. There we go.
Great. All right, we'll just quickly do a recap so we can move into answering some questions. So let's look at some of the LMS content trends in 2024. Of course, Gen AI is here, it's here to stay, and will continue to play a huge role. As you can see, when you're creating custom content, it can save you so much time in that research and the design process. And then secondly, the build and buy option will really help scale and also personalize building content. So as we've discussed, there's definitely advantages to both. And it, again, depends on your learners, your industry, but they're generally speaking, build and buy is probably the best way to go. And then thirdly, L&D professionals, 35% of them are saying that they want uh, user-generated content capabilities built into these learning programs. So that's any learning content created by learners or subject matter experts and other employees. So anyone that's not the actual L&D team. And this training content is then shared internally to pass on the knowledge, experience, or stories to those who need it. So those are the three content trends that we've identified. And as promised, we will now open the floor up for questions. I know there were quite a few in the chat, so with our remaining time, let's try to address some of those.
There were no questions, and then all of a sudden, everybody had a question which they wanted to ask. There's lots of questions have appeared in there. I'm going to go back to a question that Dav asked in the main chat first of all, because I think it's interesting because some people answered it, but I'm going to go back to Dav's question because I think it'd be interesting to get your take on this one, guys. So, what would someone need to think about? What would you need to think about if you're thinking of taking an LMS out or planning, changing your LMS? What are the things you need to think about, before you do that? I'm interested from a provider side. What do you think people should be thinking about right now?
Yeah, so Andrew, the question was, what should I think I saw that pop up in real time
Yeah.
for researching what should they be thinking about? One of the answers is right. I think somebody suggested just making a list of features and functionalities that are desired. And then I think part of that answer, or somebody in the chat said, to look at the industry experts, use IT. We definitely, as an LMS provider, will coach our buyers to do exactly that. And that's get across organizational functions to make sure that legal and compliance and IT and L&D and very specific business units are all part of the scope and the requirements documentation. And as we think about it, we want our customers to be well informed across organizational, because we think a good learning and delivery environment includes all organizations. So definitely, reach out across your executive leadership teams to make sure each business unit is represented. Make sure IT, legal, and GRC are also represented, and then lean on us and other providers like us to help you shape it. Sometimes buyers can be their own worst enemy, where they feel like they have to compete against us, but we really like to collaborate and inform and educate. And that way, obviously, we feel really good about our product and our content and our capabilities, but we want a very informed buyer. So definitely ask a lot of questions and listen to what the LMS providers are saying. If they're steering you and maybe not as objective as you might want them to be, that could be a clue. If they're actually challenging you to think broadly about, your budgets and what your learning goals are, I think those are probably pretty good cues that you might be partnered, and make sure there's a lot of compatibility. So not to be too general, but I think those are some good things to think about.
Yeah.
Use us as industry experts, because we are, and as I talked about it earlier, we see it from your perspective. I mean, we went out and bought content. We went out and we built a tool to generate content. So we want to take that all of the above approach.
Excellent. So a couple of other questions. So these are ones that I picked up from the chat. So John, are the case studies and statistics, Max, this is probably directed at you, but everybody got the number of wows that appeared when you showed people the tool. A question from John: case studies and statistics backed up with where the source information is from. So within the content, you've got some statements and so on. Have you got references for that within the design, and to be able to supply that if needed?
Not immediately.
Okay.
The way that large language models work is you'll put in a prompt and it will find the best information almost based on a fancy form of like predictive text.
hmm
And so based on the corpus of knowledge that it has access to, it will provide these case studies. But I think it's always important to stress that whenever using generative AI content, that especially if it's for a critical use case, a human, your subject matter expert, is still always involved to make sure that they double check this information. Because the way that the generative AI systems work today is that it's not deterministic, meaning that the same prompt could give different information the next time that you put it in.
Yeah, absolutely,
You
absolutely.
can
I
absolutely
yeah,
ask to include those sources, but nonetheless, you should still double check those sources.
yeah, absolutely. David has said you could ask the generative AI to include sources within the prompt. Potentially that's something you can do. I'm not sure whether 3.5 does that. I know 4 does it, and similarly so does Bard, or Gemini as it's now called, from Google. It's worth having a look up. Thank you for answering the question from Eric about SCORM or API based. There was another question. Where's it gone? Yeah, this was from Lauren. Again, when she looked at the technology, said it was impressive, and I was as well. I hadn't seen that, so we talked about it in the demo, but I actually saw it, so it was interesting for me to see it. Once you've created the course, is it compatible for those learners using it on different devices, says Lauren? Is there any issue over device or accessibility?
Nope. Once you've created the course and you've published it to your Absorb LMS, you'll be able to view the courses in all the same ways that Absorb LMS courses can be viewed, including
Awesome
mobile.
stuff. Awesome stuff. We haven't got time to go through the other questions. We've got about a minute and 30 seconds left, so we haven't got time to go through the questions. Massive thank you to you guys, though. so we've put in there, we've got, if you want to know about the Absorbs Amplify, Absorbs Create, and also a demo webinar for the future of data development with Create AI, you've got those links, and those are in the box on the left-hand side for you. You've also got in there Melissa's contact details, Mike's contact details, and Max's as well. You've also got my LinkedIn details. So if you're interested connecting with us, then please do. And I'm sure people, you'll be more than happy to take connections from people. And there's also 3 further resources as well. There's 3 blog posts in there, which again, really, really useful for people. I had a look at them yesterday when you sent them through to me late last night, and yeah, really useful stuff there. And yeah, I was going to ping some stuff through to Devinda. She joined the webinar anyway, so there we go. Really useful. Thank you. A massive thank you, Melissa, Max, Mike. That was absolutely fascinating. Rianne, I'd like to join. Let's have a look. There's a LinkedIn group, says Eric, where they're looking at AI tools. So there we go. I'm going to have to close the room down in a moment, guys. I'm going to have to put you back into the lobby. Just to say thank you, Melissa, Max, and Mike. And as I always say, thank you to the people who have been in the room as well. We've had a steady number of people in the room for the whole session. And again, it's the chat and the comments and your responses to the questions that are what make these things so good. So just thank you, everybody. And we should be back in a couple of weeks. I haven't got the details of who we've got next time, but thank you, everybody, for your time today. And I'm now going to put you back into the lobby. Melissa, Max, and Mike, don't go anywhere. You'll still be here. It's just everybody else will be on hold. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.